guess my two-part question. What are your plans to secure the security and integrity of the election? And then also, do you think, on record, do you believe that Joe Biden is a legitimately elected president, and why is the answer no?
Thank you, man. What's your name?
Christian, thank you.
Christian. So I'm going to answer this in the spirit of one of the earlier questions about national unity. Okay? What you hear tuning to MSNBC on a given night concerns the question you just asked. That is a threat to our democracy. You are a threat to our democracy for even asking that question, daring to ask a question, questioning the legitimacy of an election result. Shame on you, racist or whatever, the case may go. That's not the way we unite the country. Here's what I say. If that's really a grave concern about belief in the legitimacy of our elections, then I'm willing to do a deal. I'm going to ask all of you to come with me in my willingness and back me up in doing this deal, because we've got to move forward as a country. One election day, national holiday, voter ID matched to the voter file, paper ballots. That's it. But we have to, so we get those things. If we get that much, now we have to keep our end of the bargain. National unity. We keep our end of the bargain. Get those four things. This should not be controversial. If this is such an important issue and a threat to our democracy, fine, do these four simple things. And then I, for one, will pledge to be done with talking about election integrity as an issue, because we can believe in the result of that election. That deal moves us forward as a country. Okay, you won't hear another complaint from me if we just secure voter ID, same-day voting, national holiday, matched to the voter file, paper ballots that can be verified. This is how we move a nation forward, not by compromising, but by being uncompromising about a simple, pragmatic reality. Now, the 2020 election was also stolen in one more, in probably the most provable way, was the Hunter Biden laptop story being suppressed. It was stolen by big tech, really. And I think this is something that no amount of the deal I just laid out is going to fix this. It's going to take different kind of action, where large tech companies decided that a story on the eve of an election, which most voters say would have changed their result, nonetheless was systematically suppressed. And you had your own social media accounts locked even if you did share that story. And this is also personal to me. I've had my LinkedIn account locked as a U.S. presidential candidate. I'm now polling third in the Republican primary for U.S. president. And thank you, I appreciate that. But I was saying it for a different reason, which is that LinkedIn then locks my account in the middle of an election season for making statements that are grounded in truth about climate change, about climate policy, about the ESG movement, that they said violated their policies on hate speech, misinformation, and I'm not making this up, violence. So I asked them to point out, where's this false? So we have emails back and forth between our team. They couldn't come back with one. So then I just published those emails and those email exchanges, at which point they get calls from reporters, at which point they say, Microsoft says, oh, no, this was an error. Your account was locked in error. It was, since restored. So this is how we have to win, actually. The battlefield is not even, but it's the playing field we've got. It's also why this election, and you got to hear me out on this, because I think it's really important. This election must be a landslide election. This cannot be another 50.1, determine it the next morning, 2 days later, CNN and MSNBC, who's going to call it first? No, this can't be one of those. The 2024 presidential election must be a landslide election, akin to what Ronald Reagan delivered in 1980. That is what I am running to deliver in 2024. You want to talk about national unity? That is the single greatest leap towards national unity. And I think it is right now a requirement for national unity to have unambiguous consensus around who wins this upcoming election. And it has to be by a landslide moral mandate that then puts me in a position to shut down the administrative state, to revive a flailing economy, to revive national pride. And honest to God, I think there are other candidates in this race, including Donald Trump, who can defeat Joe Biden in a fairly fought 50.1 margin election. I know other people want me to say the answer to that is no, but no, I just think it's true. The Biden administration has performed sufficiently poorly that I think that's a winnable election no matter who the GOP nominee is. But I believe I am the only candidate in this race who can and will deliver a landslide margin in this election. And I could prove that to you. We're already seeing it in the data. The Republican debate stage criteria was 40,000 unique donors. It's actually proven surprisingly difficult for many people to meet. We've already hit 70,000 unique donors already. I never had a political donor in my life, never had a donor list, never had a list of followers to draw from. I started with a standing start. 70,000 donors. 40% of them are first-time ever donors to the GOP of any kind. The normal number is 2%. So when we go to Kensington or the south side of Chicago, the support we're drawing, I'm already playing for the general election because it's that important. It is just that important that this has to be a 1980 Reagan revolution. If we want to call it the Ramaswamy revolution, be my guest, but it's going to have to be a moral mandate in 2024. And that's what gives me a sense of obligation, especially, you know what the difference is between the 50.1 and the landslide election? I'll tell you what it is. It's young people, actually. You're going to be old enough to vote? All right, you'll be turned 18 by then? Good, thank you. So Ria's coming along with us, hopefully. But in the general election, it's going to be that landslide that we require. And I think that puts us and paves our path towards reuniting a badly broken nation, as I believe we still can. But this might be our last best chance to actually do it. And you keep that in mind and you spread that, you keep that in mind and you spread that to every one of your neighbors in this election. When you take into account who you're voting for in the primary, think about that general election too. It will make a difference to whether or not we reunite this nation.